Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today back to working on the metal planer. Yeah, I know we've already made some chips with it, but there's still a few things that we need to do to really finish that job up right. And one of them is putting the way wipers on the machine. So basically at the end of the table where it goes down into that V groove that the ways run in, there are these little cups that bolt onto the end of the table. They are lined with felt, and these are the original ones that came off of it. These still actually have the felt that was in them. I'm going to replace this felt. This stuff here is kind of hard and nasty, but the idea is that as that table goes back and forth, these will wipe the ways. You pour oil in there, it keeps them nice and moist with oil, basically absorbs excess oil and also distributes new oil as it goes down the ways. And it also helps to kind of keep trash from getting up underneath those ways, which would then turn into something that could wear the ways down. So like I mentioned, these are the original ones. I have not done anything to them. They're in the original shape. I took them off whenever we took the machine apart back 2 years ago, and they've been sitting in a Ziploc bag. So we need to get these cleaned up, painted. The castings, they all appear to be in good shape, and like I said, we're going to put new felt in these. So first things first, I'm going to get all this old felt out of these, and we got a rusty, nasty mess. I'm going to take these over to my bead blaster, a little sandblasting cabinet, and just sandblast them real quick, and then we'll probably paint them, let the paint dry, and get the felts cut to go down into these. So that one wants to be stubborn. There it comes. So let's go to the bead blaster and get these cleaned up. I don't think I've ever really shown this bead blaster here in any of my videos. In some of my earlier videos, I had a little red blaster that I got from Tractor Supply. It's actually out at the museum. I use it out there from time to time. It's still out there. But a couple of years ago, I was visiting my friend Al Kimball, who runs a machine shop up in Middle Georgia, and he actually had this bead blaster that he had picked up from somewhere or another and asked me if I wanted it. Now, I will say that when I got it from him, it was in pretty sad shape. It was completely rusted over. There were no gloves. The glass was missing out of it. But I had the case, and you know, there was a few places where it was kind of beat up. I had to hammer some things out, but we brought this into the shop, and I didn't really show it on any videos. One of my students that helps me out stripped the paint off of it. We repainted it. Turned out looking great. It actually still had the foot pedal and the blasting head and all that kind of stuff in it that was original to it. I didn't know if it worked. We hooked it all up. I had to change out a few little things, you know, put a new gauge on there. I put a new water separator in here, etc. But yeah, it's working now. Took a good bit of work, but like I said, there was no videos on this, unfortunately. I probably should have done a video series on it, but I didn't. But I've had this ever since I've got my new air compressor going out here at the shop. I now have the air capacity to run a bead blaster. Before, I would have to go out to the museum because I just didn't have it. And this bead blaster is probably twice the size of the little one I had out at the museum. This was made by Trinco. So anyway, just a little bit of backstory there because I know a lot of folks haven't seen this before. I've only used it a time or two, but it seems to be working really good. And we're going to use it to throw these parts in here that are all rusted up and just do a quick sandblasting on them. So we'll just, this one here, the lid opens up. So we'll just put our parts in here. I'm running glass beads in this right now. I got a 5-gallon bucket of glass beads. And we'll shut the lid on it, and we should be ready to go. Just FYI too, I don't have a dust collector for this. A lot of these came with a built-in dust collector. I'm cheating a little bit. I just got a shop vac hooked up to it over here. That'll help kind of keep it clean on the inside. So anyway, let's do some blasting. All right, I got you looking kind of over my shoulder down in here. Don't know how much you're going to be able to see, because it's going to get real dusty in here pretty quick, but we'll try. I've got all my parts in there. Got my sandblasting nozzle here. It's controlled by a foot pedal, and we'll just go ahead and blast these off. think we got them. All sandblasted. Those look good. All right, just a closer up here. I think I'm gonna do a little grinding on these. Like I said, this one and this one have been welded. This is the one that the backside's not too great, but I'm gonna try to just clean those up a little bit where it won't look quite so bad. Just get right here. And I'm also going to kind of use my grinder to bevel out a little area in those there where I want to lay some braze down. All right, we'll go braze that up in a little bit, but that should strengthen that up considerably. And not too worried about the back side of this one, but I'm going to try to grind some of that down so it doesn't look so bad. All right. So we are set up over here to do some TIG brazing today. Decided I was going to TIG braze this rather than flame weld it. I tend to like to TIG braze when I have a fairly thin cross section. I prefer to flame braze when I have a big mass of cast iron because I can just get more heat into the whatever I'm working on. But in this case, this being as thin as it is, I think I can get plenty of heat in here and keep it in here without any problem. So we're just going to TIG braze it. Now, when TIG brazing, you're not trying to melt the parent material like you are when you are welding. Brazing is we're just going to lay down a layer of this bronze down in there. This is silicon bronze in this case. We're just going to try to lay that down in there. It will bond with the cast iron and it will make a very nice joint. But if you melt the parent material, you actually weaken things. It changes the structure of the cast iron in this case, and we want to try to avoid that. So I'm just trying to get enough heat in there to where we can melt the braze and get it to flow down in through there. So let's do it. I'm going to start by keeping my heat on the low side, and I'm just trying to put some heat in here. If I really wanted to, I could get my torch out and preheat this, or if I had an oven in the shop, I could put it in the oven and just heat it up. But I'm just going to use the torch here, the TIG torch, and using some low heat, just get some heat into there. With brazing, you really want your parent material to be hot enough that the braze will flow down through it. I mean, I could go in there and melt it right now, but it's just not going to stick unless I have some heat in it. So that's what we're doing right now. I'll gradually increase my heat. All right, I think I have done it. We'll let that cool down nice and slow, and I'll probably grind some of that off the back so it's not sticking up so high. But looks like a successful braze job. Well, there you go. There is our brazed up piece. I went ahead and kind of ground it down and ran it back through the sandblaster. One little tip, when you do some grinding on a project on cast iron and you want to just kind of get those grind marks out, if you run it through a bead blaster, that sand will kind of put a texture in there that looks a little bit better when you paint it. So anyway, on raw castings, I often do that. So these are now ready to be painted, and let that paint dry, and maybe we can get them installed back on the machine. We got our way wipers all cleaned up, sandblasted, painted, and ready to go back on the machine, except we need the felt to go inside. So if you remember, this is the felt that was in them originally. This is obviously very old and not in great shape, so we're going to replace it with new felt. And looks like originally they had used some thinner stuff. I opted to go a little bit of a thicker material here, and I'm going to try to cut it so that it kind of fits through the holes in the bottom, so we get some that's kind of poking out in there that really does a good job of wiping those ways. So here's my game plan. I got this block of felt from McMaster-Carr, and it's already the right height. It's 1 inch thick. Basically, I need 2 inches, so 2 pieces in there. I'm just gonna, what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a marker and this would be kind of give us the outside dimensions. And let's see if we can just take a razor now and see if I can kind of cut these out. All right, got one piece partially cut out here. Okay, so I know we're going to have to kind of shorten up the sides here to fit down the inside. I think once I get one cut and I have a template, I can make the other ones a little bit easier. There we go. That's got one piece kind of picked out there. Need to so it looks like I'm going to need something about this size and shape to kind of fit down in here. I'll need to have a mirror of that to kind of go behind it here, and you can see that that sticks out, so that'll wipe those ways. I think that'll work. I just need to make another one to go on the other side, and it's going to be kind of tight fitting down in there, but I think it'll go. Yeah, I can get another one down there right beside it. All right, my work's cut out for me. I'm going to be making these for a while. So I think I got my first set of felts here made, and you can see it's a kind of an unusual shape. This little step kind of fits into this little groove here. So I'm going to put the first one in like such, and then the second one, the steps go out and fits in like such, and we've got a nice little way wiper there. That felt will help wick the oil and absorb oil on there as these things go back and forth. These cups will just kind of stay saturated with oil, and that'll kind of help wipe those ways, keep them clean, as well as keep them lubricated. So 1 down, 3 more to go. I'll do those off camera. Well, that took about an hour, and my arthritic hands are hurting a little bit. but I think we got those felts all in there where they're sticking out these bottoms, and should do a nice job. So now we just need to go mount these on the machine. So I've got the oil cups and way wipers mounted over on the planer now, and I just went ahead. There's basically just 2 screws on there holding these on. Put them all in, tried them out, and everything looks great. So let me zoom in here and kind of show you these things and explain to you how they work, and we'll give it a try, let you see it. So here they are mounted, and as you can see, I just used a couple of screws. These are actually the original screw holes and everything. We just went right back in where they came out. And if you look closely, these way wipers, they're not quite touching the ways up underneath them. There's a little gap in there, but when you get out here to the felt is coming in contact with the ways. So it's actually the felt that is wiping it and not this piece of metal itself. So these serve a couple of purposes. I think we've already talked about this before, but in case we haven't, here we go again. These are going to wipe the ways clean. They'll keep any trash out. So if you get a chip that falls over in here, this way wiper will push it out to the end, and it just kind of goes away. We want to avoid getting trash in between the ways on the top and the bottom, because that's just going to wear any grit or anything that gets in there. So, and the other thing is these felts are oiled. We just come here with a little squirt of oil every now and then whenever you're using it, and that will wick the oil up against these ways, and it'll pick up any excess oil that's on them. It'll absorb into this. It just serves as a reservoir, and then as needed, it puts down a new layer of oil. So when this thing comes back and forth, it's putting a thin layer of oil on and wiping it each time. So that's all good. That helps keep the machine lubricated as well. So they'll just go off the end of the table and come right back on, no big deal. Let's fire it up and show it in action. I've extended the travel so that the table goes off of both ends, just so that we can make sure everything's going to work right. And here we go. It is wiping those clean. There's a piece of trash. Pushes it right out of the way. Comes back in there, everything's nice and clean. And we got the same thing on the back side as well. I'm not going to show those, but they're set up exactly the same way. Well, there we go, guys. We are one step closer to being pretty much totally finished with this restoration. Like I mentioned in previous videos, I've got a couple little small odds and ends that really aren't that big of a deal to the total operation. But before I get through with this, I want to finish it and not have anything that's still laying out over my head. So I got 1 or 2 more little things to do, and we're going to call this machine 100% restored. It's usable as it is right now. And also I want to get a chance to play around with it some more. I've got a couple of jobs lined up for this that we'll be doing soon. That's my game plan anyway, to put this machine to work. But all in all, very happy with how it's turned out, and continue to just be super excited to have this project nearly finished up. So there you go, guys. That is a wrap. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thumbs up, comments appreciated. As always, hit that bell icon to get notification when new videos are posted. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.